The definition of a meme: a unit of cultural information such as a cultural practice or idea that is transmitted either verbally or by action from one mind to another. The Yincrow X6 is one of these infamous audio memes in the audiophile community. It's another typical Chinese earbud based on the Sennheiser MX500 design. Now these babies, the story behind the Yincrow X6 is that I used to lurk a rather infamous audio community known as Headphone Headquarters, a Discord server that's kind of infamous for its rapid response to new users with bans. Yeah, Headphone Headquarters is almost like the Yandere Simulator Discord server of audiophile forums. Back when I used to lurk, there was this whole meme about how the Yincrow X6, despite its very low cost of around $12 and its rather low shoddy build quality, these had a reputation for having amazing sound, just amazing bass quality. Yeah, everybody hyped these to hell and back, and it's like, do they really sound good? As somebody who's owned these for almost 2 years now, well, really a year and a half, but do they really sound that good? No, they really don't. Okay, I'm just gonna get straight into this shit. I was curious about the Yincrow X6 because I'm basically just storing them in my sock drawer for all these months because I really didn't have a use for them anymore, especially after getting the Sony MH1 from my last review. But after that, if you watch that review, you do know I discovered a method to being able to get a good idea of how two things sound by normalizing at 1000 Hertz using a tone generator on two different devices at the same time, one ear and the other. The Yincrow X6 is a very mid-ranged focused earbud. It has the bulk of its frequency response is between 800 Hertz and 2000 Hertz. Now the problem with the Yincrow 6 is that after 2000 Hertz, there is a very steep roll-off. By my graphs, it was around 15% quieter at 3000 to 4000 Hertz, and then from there, it just shoots straight down, very quiet overall between like 5000 Hertz to 20,000 Hertz. So, really, it's like there's almost no treble detail on the Yincrow 6 at all. As for the bass, I really don't know where that claim came from either. Now, I'm not really used to earbuds besides the originals that came with the iPod Touch back in like 2009. When it comes to Yincrow's bass, I don't know. It's similar to the treble. There is a roll off from around 600 Hertz downwards. It does have a pretty steep roll off. Now, thankfully, I was able to EQ it using this method once I got the decibels sorted out. Now, I was able to get these EQ'd to a pretty good level. I think I EQ'd it based on the graph I made first. From there, I was able to get it more or less EQ'd pretty spot on with the Sony MH1, despite the fact that they don't seal. But basically, everything above, I want to say 100 Hertz, it's basically spot on with this now with my EQ settings. Of course, it does, because it doesn't seal, it does have that bass roll-off, but that's really not such a bad thing. If you remember, the Sony MH1 is a little too much in the sub-bass region. So when it comes to the subjective impressions, before this, the Yincrow X6 really doesn't... The Yincrow X6 really doesn't sound that great at all. I don't know where this whole idea of these being like this budget champion came from. When it comes to budget audio, your options are basically limited to the Koss KSC75, the ear clip-ons. They're pretty decent sounding, if a little too much in the upper mids and the lower treble sibilance region. The Yincrow X6, like I said, it's very mid-range focused. I found in English terms what that basically means is that the Yincrow X6 sounds very compressed. Now, I see a lot of audiophiles often talk about audio gear sounding compressed, and of course the real way to disprove that would be to do a frequency response measurement at various volumes to see if it does change with each step. But in the case of the Yincrow X6, what I found is that because the treble and the bass are so underemphasized compared to the mid-range, it makes the instruments sound very close together. It really means like there's no air. Boy, here I go with the audiophile terms, but it's like the instruments don't really have any air to breathe. The cymbals really aren't there. The bass is kind of lacking. Bass guitars are kind of lacking. And I mean, it's really not the fact that it's compressed or anything. There's no limitation to the little tiny dynamic drivers inside these shells. It's just the fact that the frequency response emphasizes that 800 to 2000 range. It just makes it sound very compressed. It really just goes to show that frequency response is everything. Now, even with the EQ, I don't really hear that much distortion. I do seem to have a problem where I hear rattling in the right driver when it goes under 150 hertz. I believe that might be a hair inside the enclosure. Something similar happens to the COS KSC 75. With that, you just have to blow into it, but I might actually have to open this up and see if there's any hair inside. That's a bit unfortunate. Not really much else to say. It's just, once you get it EQ'd, it sounds really good. It sounds very nice and flat and neutral. It doesn't really have any problem with any genres at all. Might as well talk about the more subjective stuff now. The cable, this is a very interesting design. I don't think I've really seen that many things like this. It's, you know, usually with these portable audio devices, you have like the flat, you either have like the ones that go straight or you have the ones that are L-shaped. This is considered the J-shaped cable. And what's very interesting about this is, if you look at the COS KSC's cable, it does have a similar bend to it, so it does seem very optimized for portable devices in that way. It's pretty good from that or an amp. Can't get these together very well. The build quality isn't really that great, although for a Chinese clone of the Sennheiser MX500, really can't expect better. Now, there is an even cheaper version of this, I think called the Vido. I don't exactly remember the name. I remember people saying that that was only like $2, and I don't know if it sounds the same. I'm gonna guess it doesn't, because the thing with most of these audiophiles who believe in memes, that they really can't hear worth for shit. I think a good example of that was Z Reviews and the COS KPH30i. People used to say that with the Grado bowl pads, they sounded so much better, but once Oratory 1990 measured them, you could see that it really doesn't sound much better at all. It's just a huge sibilant spike with those. And yet idiots who just know nothing about audio will just scream, you know, show me on the graph where the soundstage is. It's just ridiculous. All these people on the internet just know nothing about audio, yet claim to be experts. The Yincrow X6 does come in this nifty little yellow box. Open it up. There's yet another box inside. It's got the, boy, I can't show this off. Love music, the voice of the love more pure. Boy. And, oh, this is going to be hard to open on camera. Inside the box, you have this pouch. Now, this pouch has to be one of the most accursed things I've come across in audio. You can't... Now, this is something I really can't demonstrate through video, but... Oh, God. This thing has to be one of the most foul-smelling things I've ever smelled. I mean, I don't quite know how to explain it. It just smells like diarrhea. I don't know what material it's made of, but it just has this omnipresent, like, diarrhea smell. And it's like, I don't even like touching this shit. Get it away from me. Like, it actually does leave residue on your hands. So yeah, after this I'm gonna have to wash my hands really well. I don't know what the fuck that shit's made out of. It's almost like it's covered in poison. Oh, jeez. yeah, if you buy these, do not carry them in the pouch at all. Of course, you know, I haven't really touched on this subject since I figure these are more mainstream audio reviews, but when it comes to like 3D audio and HRTF binaural audio reproduction, what I found is that because these don't seal, you don't really get very good front or rear localization when it comes to HRTF. So, you know, if you want something cheap for 3D audio, you just stick with the COS KSC. When you equalize these to the Harman Target or the Oratory, what's it called, the Optimum Hi-Fi card, you really can't find much better. I mean, might as well talk about. It is just a really for what it is, it sounds pretty decent after EQ, and I didn't really hear any noticeable channel imbalances, so that's pretty good. I guess I just make this video because there's just a lot of bullshit that goes around the internet about certain audio devices, and I really wanted to just prove to people out there that the Yincrow X6, it really doesn't live up to the hype. It does need EQ to sound good. I mean, without the details of the treble, I don't know. It sounds, like I said, it sounds very compressed for any music genre. A lot of people might say, warm sound. It's got that warm sound because the treble slope. And it's like, no. No. If you're not going to EQ the Yincrow X6, I wouldn't really recommend you get it. I mean, again, maybe for an earbud. There was a comment on one of my reviews that said they can't use in-ears no matter what, so they do need earbuds. So, you know, for that commenter, you know, get these, use my EQ settings, wait the 4 weeks or so from China that it'll take to ship to you, and you know, it's pretty decent audio, I guess. Pretty good. Of course, the problem with earbuds like this is that, you know, the sound just leaks out. It leaks out because of the open design. So if you're very self-conscious about people on public transportation hearing what you listen to, you might not get this. And of course, because it doesn't seal, you know, it's not going to block out any sound. So you might accidentally turn this up to like 100 decibels and like damage your hearing over time. So I wouldn't. If you need isolation, do not get these. It's really just more for like casual, you know, sit around the house kind of audio, I guess. I really don't know how to end these reviews.